Hey guys, so I know that I said that I would do this another day, but I got way too excited and I ended up just talking to my dad and writing everything down, and I have more information now and more stories. And I also talked with my uncle and some other friends too, and my dad helped me out a lot. He's so smart and he knows a ton of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is the Tales of Texas Flat Road. My cat's trying to get into a box. If you don't know what Texas Flat Road is, it's a road in like the Kill of Mississippi, and it's like this really long road. It's called Texas Flat Road because any road that is just like a flat, long road is like a Texas flat road, basically. So that's like where it got its name. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different stories. Part 1, the buffer zone. In the 1960s, NASA or Stennis, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to call it NASA just for this video, bought the land where settlements were for testing space shuttle engines. And they bought this land to test space shuttle engines, and some of the settlements that were there were Gainesville, Santa Rosa, Logtown, and a few more that I didn't get the names of today. There are real documents and maps of these places, and my dad has a map somewhere of Gainesville, Santa Rosa, and Logtown. Like, it shows it there, and it's pretty cool how it shows it before they bought the land. They made everybody move within 1 year. They gave them 1 year to move, but there is this lady called Miss Blue, and she refused to move because her family grew up there for many generations, and she sat on her front porch in her rocking chair while they got a truck and moved her and her house. So yeah, she wasn't having it. She refused to move. So I don't know if she's a part of any of like these hauntings or anything. I don't know, but it's possible. Part 2, the lights. UFOs are spotted throughout the sky, throughout the woods, on the ground, and just kind of like in the air. Throughout Texas Flat Road and even Flat Top Road, which is a road off of Texas Flat Road, and we'll get into that later. A lot of people actually think that these lights is swamp gas. And there's a swamp around there, and there's this swamp gas that comes up, and it's like a bluish green tint, and you can kind of see it at night. And this gas actually makes cars stall, and it gives cars problems. That's also really important now and later on in the story. Now I'm going to read you my Uncle Randy's story that he sent me. Randy, when I was in high school, a lot of times a group of us would go out to Texas Flat Road on Friday or Saturday nights to see what everybody called the lights. The main place was a small, old, rickety bridge over a small creek. You'd drive onto the bridge, turn off your car, then turn off your headlights. Eventually, someone would see the eerie, bluish-green glow of swamp gas. Then you'd always hear a twig snap, probably a raccoon or possum. Next thing, someone would usually yell, "Let's get out of here," and we would tear out of there as fast as we could on our way back to Picayune. So, that's kind of creepy. Just imagine like going out there and just pulling over to the side of the road, turning your car off, and seeing lights. And then when you try to crank your car back on, it won't crank. After hearing like twig snap and things in the woods. Like, that's really creepy. Next part is Flat Top Cemetery. Flat Top is the road a few miles, or the next road off of Texas Flat Road. Since they're like together, it's basically like the same area, so they both have hauntings. So my dad took my mom there when they were younger, and he loved scaring people. So, did he take her there to scare her? Did he plan everything? Did he plan this? They pulled up to Flat Top Cemetery and pulled over on the side of the road and just turned the car off. And they just kind of sat there. They didn't get out and go in the cemetery or anything. They just kind of sat there. I think he was just trying to freak her out. Well, suddenly they see these lights, like in the graveyard area. And my mom thought they kind of looked like flashlights at first, like people shining flashlights, but she said that it actually wasn't like at an angle. It actually looked like lights were coming down from above, like on the ground, like circling the ground from above. And she also said that she couldn't see anybody like holding flashlights, like she couldn't see any bodies or anything like that, like waving flashlights around. It just looked like lights circling on the ground. And she thought my dad was trying to scare her, but when she questioned him, he denied it. Also, she looked for cars parked along the road as they drove up and down the road, and she didn't see any cars there. So if somebody was there trying to scare her or my dad too, how'd they get there? Unless my dad dropped them off there and then waited to pick them back up until he dropped my mom back off at home. That's a little weird. And when they did crank their car to go back home or whatever, their car did not stall. It cranked fine. Maybe they weren't around the swamp gas. I don't know. And just want to insert this here is a trigger warning. I'm about to get into kind of a touchy subject that has to deal with cults and some killings that happened. So if you get triggered easily or you don't really want to hear that kind of stuff, you may want to click off of this video. I just am telling stories that I've heard. It's very sad what happened. So I feel for these people. It's the ghost of Flat Top Road. There has been stories of this cult that killed some African Americans, and they think that they hung them or even killed them another way. Apparently, if you flash your headlights 3 times, you'll see the ghost of these people. I heard that from a friend. She told me today, and I think that's scary and sad, but also pretty neat. Next story is the strange disappearing man that my aunt told me and left on my Facebook, and I'll read hers now. When my husband and I were just dating and Texas Flat was still a dirt road, we went out there. While sitting in the car late at night, we saw a black man with no shirt, no shoes, and cut-off shorts standing in the edge of the woods. We thought it was a homeless person or somebody camping out, but when we cranked the car and the headlights came on, he vanished. Scared the daylights out of me. It was near the old slave graveyard, my aunt said. So my aunt and my uncle, when they were like dating or whatever, when they're young, they went out there and they saw this man. He had no shirt, no shoes, and like cut up shorts, and they thought he was homeless or maybe hurt or maybe just camping out or something. And when they like turned their headlights on, he wasn't there anymore. That's really weird, and it makes me kind of wonder if he was a victim of the murderous cult that did kill African Americans. This took place on Texas Flat, I believe. Yeah, that's what she said. This takes place on Texas Flat, and the murders from the cult took place on Flat Top Road Cemetery. So even though it's 2 different roads, they are very close to each other, only a few miles. So it is possible that if that was a ghost, it could be from the cult that killed him. And I don't have a lot of information about, I just heard about it. It's the woman in white. People see a woman in white in the middle of the road, in the woods, and in the cemetery. She apparently died at 1:26 a.m. and if you go out to Flat Top Cemetery during that time, you can see her. Yeah, 126 is when she passed away, so she's usually roaming around that time. She's not only in the cemetery, people have also seen her in the middle of the road and like on the edge of the woods, stuff like that. I don't know who she is, I don't know her story, maybe somebody else out there has more information, but yeah. This next one is about Bigfoot. So, I know a guy who sent me this, and he said, I was cutting sod out on Flat Top late one night when, over the sound of my tractor, I heard the most blood-curdling scream you can possibly imagine. Also, I was on a 300-acre farm, and a little tree from outside the property managed to get into the gate, probably about a football field. I also found 21-inch footprints that were very distinct. So yeah, Bigfoot lives in the buffer zone. That's quite the story. Like, that's kind of creepy. Like, imagine like doing some work out there and hearing a blood-curdling scream. Like, that would freak me out. And then seeing 21-inch footprints that were very distinct. Either somebody went out there and made a perfect shape of a huge footprint, or that's gotta be something or somebody's. Like, that's creepy. Another story to that is also by my Uncle Randy. He admitted that when he was in high school, him and his friends would make up stories to Texas Flat Road and would do things to trick people. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. We would also hear rumors about Bigfoot. Just past the bridge I mentioned in my post about the lights was a place where everybody would always turn around. Just for fun, some of my friends made a large wooden Bigfoot and used some reflective red paint for eyes that would glow when hit by headlights. Our Bigfoot was placed just off the road where everyone turned around, partially covered by bushes, just visible enough so that when a car turned around at night, their headlights would catch a large shape and those glowing red eyes. A week later, we checked on it, and it had been blown apart by a shotgun blast. So that's pretty funny, I gotta admit. So if you did drive out there and see a Bigfoot, it could have been the fake one, but that, like I said, that was years ago when he was a teenager, and my friend Dakota just told me this, and this happened just recently. So two different stories, but that's kind of interesting because I also know of rumors of Bigfoot in Honey Swamp Island, which is kind of by Pearl River, and I never really thought that Bigfoot would be like a swamp monster. I'm gonna probably make another video about that another day, but they're kind of by each other, not really, but only a few miles apart, so it is possible that it could be Bigfoot. We never know. Alright, and another one is my dad just told me. It's a small story, there's really no evidence to it, but it's kind of interesting. It's at the Bayou Bacon Hunting Club. He was there with some friends, and my dad heard drums beating, and this is off of Texas Flat Road. He heard drums beating and like some noises, and he was wondering if it was like a satanic cult, like doing some kind of ritual or something. Another piece of information is that my mom was driving by Texas Flat Road one day, and she saw a burnt cow on the side of the road. And if you know anything about cults, they use animals and sacrifice them and burn them during their rituals, so that's pretty creepy. So I hope you liked all these stories about Texas Flat Road and Flat Top Road. They're like a 2-in-1, and I think they're really interesting, and it's also creepy that it's owned by NASA, and who knows what they're doing out there. Something keeps going on with my camera, and when I edit them, something keeps happening. So I figured I'd do this quick ghost story. And comment down below what you want to hear from me, and also I'll have my friends shoutouts down below, and some of my friends also have YouTube channels, and they're going to be in the subscriptions as well. So comment down below what kind of videos you want me to post, and hopefully I can get into that another day. I can't wait to start this channel back up again.